Okay, and we're live now for a preview of Week 11 on Friday, November 18th. And I guess we'll start. We'll get to the standings in a minute, but we're going to start with what was finally, after a couple months of waiting, we finally got our first trade of the regular season. Was approved last night between Brendan and James, and it's a very interesting deal, and I'll admit my stance on this has changed a bit since last night. I should have put it up on the screen, but basically the trade is James sent Tom Brady and Ty Montgomery to Brendan, and Brendan traded to James Ryan Matthews and Quincy Enunwa. So a 2-for-2 trade. So James, I'll let you. Why did you decide? I know you proposed this trade to Brendan, so I'm curious why you decided to make this move.
Well, plain and simply, I had two of the top quarterbacks in the league for fantasy, and running backs been a hole. Wideouts have taken a little bit of a dip, but so I just felt the need. I needed to firm up the running back and wide receiver position, and obviously these guys aren't like Ezekiel Elliott or Antonio Brown, but I feel like they added a little bit of depth. I had to bite the bullet a little bit, giving up Tom Brady, but I mean, one way or another, I was going to be solid with the quarterback position, anyways. Rodgers, knock on wood, has been solid in recent weeks and is staying consistent, and Green Bay has a lot more to fight for. Compared to New England right now, New England seems like they're in the driver's seat for the AFC East and possibly the number one seed in the AFC. And one interesting stat that I've noticed in the last 3 years, from Week 12 on, with Tom Brady has been the number 11 fantasy quarterback, the 23rd fantasy football quarterback, and the 12th fantasy quarterback. And I am referencing after or week 12 and beyond from the 2013, 2014, and 2015 season. So that, putting all that into play, it just seemed like Brady was the better quarterback to get rid of. I think Green Bay has a slightly easier schedule as well, and Green Bay has more to play for. And even though I could probably get more for Tom Brady, I definitely needed some sort of pieces to help, try to win the division, let alone just have a shot at making the playoffs. So, Enunwa is, he's the offense of the Jets has slumped in recent weeks, but he's a decent PPR option for wideout. And Ryan Matthews last week had a really good game.
Surprisingly.
And he's going to get some work. So, but again, I'm not trying to say Ryan Matthews is a, hardcore number one running back. He's obviously a low-end RB2, but again, Coleman's been hurt, and I've had to rely on Terrence West. He bumps up the running back position for me a little bit and gives me a little more depth.
So this was what Brendan's thought of was, and this is he basically just wanted me to ask you this question, and he wants to ask you, James, how does it feel to be trade raped?
I mean, I'm not sure how I'm the one trade raped. He's the one that has Mike Gillislee as his second running back.
Well,
So I'm not exactly sure how I'm trade raped, but
so this is the thing. Just talking to both of you, it's pretty obvious that you two have completely different views on who won this trade.
this
Damn
is
it.
true.
Thanks, Joe.
So
Sorry.
um, so basically, we'll get a third party view here. This is my thought. I do think Brendan won the trade, but not quite as much as I thought originally. So this is the thing.
agreed.
Tom Brady is a drastic upgrade at quarterback for Brendan. Because
Of course,
Eli hasn't
absolutely.
done anything this season, and the only other option he had was Dalton, who hasn't done a whole lot either. So, you know, you can't blame him for
No.
making that move. With that said, you pointed out the running back situation with him.
hmm
He's basically, and I'm assuming this is what he's going to do. He's going to play Ty Montgomery in that second slot with Chris Ivory.
Right. And the other thing as to why I added Ty Montgomery in that deal,
Mhm,
he odds are was going to be the guy that I was going to drop if I just did the 2-for-1.
mhm,
And even if I gave him the Brendan, I don't know if Brendan entirely grasps or understands. Green Bay has Starks back. They just
mhm,
picked up a true running back in Christian Michael.
mhm,
Not that he's anything special, but he is technically a true running back compared to Montgomery. Montgomery would be the number 3 running back. Then you look at the wide receiver end, which is what Montgomery is also a possible position for. And
mhm,
Montgomery, he's the fourth wideout, third or fourth wideout,
mhm,
and he's not going to get as many looks.
mhm,
So, and then you add the sickle cell issue with him, and
mhm,
he was ill earlier this week. It's not entirely certain what he was ill for, if it was regarding the sickle cell trait or not, but those are all red flags compared to, you know, what I was getting. So that's why I was going to drop him. And it's just like, all right, I'll let Brendan have him. And he could just be like, oh, hey, I got trade raped because I gave him the lesser of the 2 quarterbacks that I had, which is a number 2 quarterback
mhm,
in fantasy, granted, albeit, but he's going to slow down. And because the team is going to be, sorry, the team meaning the New England
mhm,
Patriots, they're going to bench him for the playoffs and all that shit. And they've got the division locked up for the most part. And Montgomery is trending downward. He is, it's. I don't know if you agree with my assessment with Ty Montgomery, Mike,
No,
but
I agree with 100%. And I didn't know until after the trade went in, because I've been behind on my news, that the Packers brought in Christian Michael, which changes
yeah,
everything, as you said. The only reason I just don't think you're getting as much value as you think, James, with Anunwa and Matthews. And that's just my
sure.
opinion. I don't like them. I don't like either one of those players.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
but the key here, Mike, is I traded for something that I needed some sort of, you know, not necessarily staple, but let's put it this way. I know, and I'm going to quote ESPN on this. I'm not sure it's the best thing or not, but if you look at Ryan Matthews, he's been getting a lot of the goal line touches. I think he has 8 or 9 touchdowns on the year. He is getting the touchdowns, which is a key part. He's not getting like the yardage compared to like Darren Sproles, but I mean Matthews does have some value, and in Yunwa he's had 2 slow weeks, but it's coming off the bye. I'm hopeful, you know, but one thing or another, a move needed to be made with Tom Brady because of what I said, and also, you know, I've had him on my bench for most of the year, or one of those two quarterbacks, Rodgers or Brady, on my bench for most of the year. And it was time to, move on from that and get some people that not necessarily is going to turn some heads, because I tried making offers, across the board, and, it hasn't worked out.
I don't know, James. I
So
didn't
I
get an
needed
offer from you.
You're 10-0. I think you're all right.
Yeah, Joe, and you also have Drew Brees. I don't think you need Tom Brady.
Hey, you never
Yeah.
know.
Well, that's why I drafted Tom Brady as my backup, and you know what? And I'm glad he kind of brought that point up a little bit, because it reminded me of where I got Tom Brady. Look at it. Look at it this way.
Had him last year.
Oh, round nine. Round nine, I got him in a 12-team PPR league.
Right.
So the fact that I'm getting Matthews and Inunua, granted that it's doesn't compare to the talent as Tom Brady. I think Ryan Matthews was about that same round, if I'm not mistaken. So,
yeah, actually, it may have been a little earlier because Brendan reached for his entire team.
true.
But
So,
but
in that aspect, in terms of value and trade rates, if you look at the draft, he got trade rates. So, but what do I know?
Well, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, it's interesting because
Absolutely.
Brendan, and you can't blame. I don't blame Brendan for making a trade at all. I think he did the right thing, mostly because of the position he's in right now. He's hanging on to that last playoff spot by a thread right now.
But I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make one thing clear. Obviously, I'm just stating this and acknowledging this. Obviously, I did not get full value in return for Tom Brady. I'm just trying to get what I need in the positions that I need, and that's just some solid play. And I feel like at least Ryan Matthews, if he can get in the end zone, can do that. That's all.
All right. We're gonna go jump into the standings now. Since it's our first time on air since all this occurred, Joe, you're 10-0. You've
Woohoo!
clinched everything. So now you got to wait 5 weeks, you got 4 weeks of really nothing. You got 3 pretty meaningless regular season games and the first round bye in the playoffs. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Between meaningful games. I don't know. I've never been in a situation like that, so I have no idea. Like, are you just praying nobody gets hurt at this point?
For the most part. I mean, I'm hoping people don't get hurt. I'm also keeping an eye on guys on the waivers so that I can see who is.
Yeah, Mister. I saved all my money to right now.
Yep.
Yeah, he's spending money now, Joe.
Hey, I spent $6.
Spending money. Yeah.
Oh wow, you must have broke the bank there. Damn.
I spent $5 on one guy. I mean,
Joe spent $6, and James, I believe you're down to $5, right? The rest of the way.
That is true.
Yeah.
Are we touching upon that or no?
Not tonight, no. But we can bring it up
Okay.
at the end because we spent a lot of time on the trade.
Yeah, I apologize.
That's okay, Joe. So Joe, you've won the South. You're gonna have at least $50, regardless. Justine has a shot to clinch the North and clinch a wild card spot for the first time ever in this league. For her.
Hey, I'm proud of what she did with that team.
What's that?
I'm proud of the way she turned that team around.
Yeah, she's had a good season. It's been a combination of that, and if you look at her points against down here, she's finally had some good luck. She has the second fewest points against. The only person with fewer points against is you, Joe.
Yeah, so, I think I actually have the fewest in the league.
You do, but at the same time, you've scored the most points, which is why you're 10-0. So
yeah.
The Central, as you know, James, who knows what's going to happen? 'Cause this has gotten really,
It-
really wild.
It's looking a little bit like the NFC East or the AFC North of old, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Mo's been on a tear lately too.
Yeah, that was the other thing.
Mo's been on it.
I
Most
did.
teams are crazy.
I did want to ask you, James, how's it feel to be on the losing end of the worst loss in league history last week?
Hey, it wasn't a fluke. She earned it. I can't complain about that.
I was
My
actually
team's been.
expecting to see Mo on this week.
No,
I don't think so. What's that?
no, I was just gonna say, my team's been slumping, and they're a little nicked up, a little banged up, but I definitely, she deserved it. I mean, plain and simple, she deserved it. So she got it, and nothing else to do but do the best I can going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I know your team only scored 85 points, but it still wouldn't have mattered if your team scored 185 points last week. So
Exactly. It's like, what can you do? She got it. So good for her.
Incredibly enough, looking at this is what the playoffs would look like if we started today. Mo and John, for that matter, are both 5-5, both out of a playoff spot because of Larry and Brendan's tie from week one. It's essentially
and I would get to play. Oh, and that's the best part. Oh my God. So you're telling me if the playoffs started today, I'm playing Brendan?
You would be, and I am kind of. I would like to see that, just because you two have a thing going on. So
I have no problem with Brendan. I mean, he's the one trying to talk a game. So
yeah.
I'm gonna pull what his now quarterback and his coach would do, and that would just be like, we're on the President Trump, and then just put up the bulletin board material, and apparently I got trade raped, quote unquote.
Apparently.
So we'll see how he feels if I beat him.
All right. Well, we're going to jump into the matchups. Game of the week. Speaking of Brendan and Monique, this is.
By the way, that gesture that Harbaugh is giving, yeah, I definitely think Brendan deserves that. That little up yours.
He probably does. He probably does. Well, especially with the face that's next to Harbaugh.
Yes.
So yeah, this
Harbaugh
is
for president 2020.
This is essentially the winner of this one's going to be in a wild card spot at the end of the week with 2 weeks left to play. Loser is not going to be in a great position. Very important wild card game. A lot of check marks for Monique, but to start the week, this is actually the only game that didn't have anybody playing last night. So they're starting 0-0 on Sunday. Mo has a lot of check marks, but only about a 2-point favorite here. Mostly because you can see Brendan closed the gap a bit with Tom Brady in the lineup, and as well as Ty Montgomery with the two guys he got in the trade. However, it's interesting when I put the numbers in for my own rankings. Originally, before Brendan made the trade, my rankings had him winning this game. Now they have Mo winning this game. Don't know.
And I'm the one that got trade raped. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that was mostly a Ty Montgomery thing, even though I don't know about Mike Gillisley or anything like that. Because Tom Brady against San Francisco is an awesome matchup.
Yeah, it's
so
solid.
It couldn't have been that. And
I think New England's going to run the ball more because the San Fran offense defense is weak, very weak against the run.
Yeah, San Francisco's run defense is historically bad. I'm pretty sure every running back that's going up against them has had like ridiculously huge days. So that's a good point. and that's something to keep an eye on. Brendan's team is just, and I'll say this much: Mo's won 2 straight top scorer awards, 2 straight games. She had 157, I think, 2 weeks ago, and of course 203 points last week. I mean, she's not going to do that again. Melvin Gordon's on a bye. Demarius Thomas is on a bye, so she's a little. You don't want to say banged up. That's not the right phrase, but she's missing a bunch of key players. I think Mo wins by a whisker, and I think it's going to be very close just because of the bye week situation. But I think she's going to win, and this is kind of a put up or shut up game for both teams. Neither of these teams can afford to lose this game, and I'm sure you guys would agree with that.
I think it's going to come down to the running backs. Mo is much stronger at running back. I see Mo winning this by probably about 15 points.
So you don't even think – I think it's going to be a lot closer. You think the running backs –
I think it's 15-point spread in Mo's favor. I think she'll probably pull in around 140, 145.
I think people forget Mo has Darren Sproles, mostly because she hasn't had to play Sproles all year.
Yeah.
Because of Elliott and Gordon. So he is, and he's the perfect type of guy to jump in on a bye when she needs him to. So good injury insurance as well. James.
I'm on board with Joe, except I would say about 20, not 15.
You guys are really taking it out on Brendan this week.
Well, no, it's not taking it out on Brendan. I'll spit some
I'm looking at
truth right now.
matchups. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I don't think I would prefer head and shoulders Darren Sproles over Ty Montgomery.
Oh yeah.
Larry Fitz over Anquan Bolden. I mean, Anquan Bolden's Oh, sorry, Antonio Brown. I apologize.
Okay.
No. It's very tiny on my screen. I apologize. Can't say anything about that.
I think that'll be a pretty even matchup, between Fitz and Brown.
This is the thing. Wide receivers against the Browns aren't necessarily the best matchup in the world.
No.
True. So, the thing is with those projections, I feel like they're way too high sometimes or way too low. This is a case for Antonio Brown. It's too high. Granted, he deserves that projection because he's arguably the best wideout in football. But, again, that's kind of lofty for fantasy, saying this guy's going to get 21 points, hands down, no problem.
Well, and the other issue you two have is Mo has Roethlisberger, so they're going to cancel each other out to an extent.
Yeah,
Brown's production's going to get canceled out slightly.
I think Roethlisberger will have a better passing day, but I think New England will win based on running.
You're also hoping for that too, Joe.
Yeah,
for your sake.
And also just one little last thing to say. Mo has Devontae Adams as her number 3 wideout. I still think Adams is more likely to do something compared to Ty Montgomery.
It's surprising. I don't like Devontae Adams because I think he's not talking fantasy, just as a football player. I don't think he's very good, but he's 12th He's 12th in wide receiver scoring this year.
Absolutely.
Which is mostly due to Rodgers.
Surprising.
Yes, but it's mostly due to Rodgers more than anything else. But I mean, Mo is very deep at wide receiver. It's something we haven't really talked about. She doesn't have. I mean, Demarius Thomas hasn't been great this year. But I mean, between him and Fitz and Britt and Adams, I mean, that's 4 really good receivers.
Yep, absolutely.
So, I am rooting against Mo at this point because I don't want her making the playoffs, and I think I mentioned this to a couple people this week. I not want her making the playoffs.
Why if Mo makes the playoffs, she's earned it, and she's had a really rough past couple years, and she's well overdue for a playoff berth.
Yeah, She's had a tough season. The start to the season for her was not great. She's turned it on the last couple of weeks and has worked her way back into the playoff race. So
she makes it in. I look forward to playing her. I would hope I would get to play her if I played her in the final round. I think it would be a great matchup.
Agreed. We're moving on to your game, Joe. So this is more 10-0. Larry, this means a lot to Larry because he's again in that wild card position where he's sort of on the bubble, and he's got a heck of a challenge, Joe, because he has to beat you this week, and nobody's beat you so far this season. However, not the best night last night for Drew Brees.
No, I did expect it. I did expect Brees not to have a great week.
Yeah, he scored 15 points. I think after 3 quarters, most of those points came in the fourth quarter, and after 3 quarters, he only had 3 points.
Yeah,
it could have been disastrous.
Yeah, I think he threw 2 interceptions and a fumble.
Yeah, it was not a good night for Brees. Fleener outdid his projection. But, Joe, you were hurt also. The Saints, Tim Hightower, had the best fantasy game last night of anybody. And Larry got 19 points from that.
I know. That was like, wow. I didn't expect that from Hightower.
Yeah,
I haven't
Saints
seen
Hightower
numbers like that since his rookie year.
The Cardinals back in the day.
Yeah.
So Larry has actually closed the gap to within a couple points. As I said, if Larry, this is a win he really needs to get, even though, I don't think too many people are expecting him to get it. The one area where Larry has where you're in trouble this week, Joe, is at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Because Macklin you're without Alshon Jeffrey till the fantasy playoffs now with his suspension. And
pretty much.
And Jeremy Macklin has the injured groin.
Yeah.
I don't know. Apparently Robert Woods is questionable, as is Kenny Stills. So you're a little thin right now at wide receiver after Jordy Nelson. Actually Larry's projection, I think Larry's actually going to be favored slightly once he replaces his kicker, which I hope he does. Considering how close this game is, I don't imagine he would leave his kicker in on a bye, even though he's done that in the past a couple times.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be very smart. Now, as far as Larry is concerned, he's missing, I think, Matt Forte is on the bye this week. And as has been the case this entire season, he's got a bunch of guys injured, even though I believe all these guys are going to play. Even Larry's injured list is slowly decreasing finally, which is a good thing. I will say, I think when it comes down to it, I think it's going to be actually somewhat close once Larry puts a kicker in and maybe fixes a couple things. But I think you're going to pull it out. It's going to be a close game. But because of how deep you are at running back and because Blunt and Murray both have really good matchups, I think you're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, I expect a good matchup out of that.
Mm-hmm. James?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Joe.
Mm-hmm.
With all due respect to Larry, I think Dak's going to outplay Drew. But after that, I think it gets a little lopsided to Viper. So I'll go Viper 15 points.
Okay. By the way, basically, Joe, you're playing for records at this point the rest of the way. One more win ties the single season wins record.
Make that stamp in the record book.
What's that?
I'm still going to make that stamp in the record book.
Yeah, and of course, as you know, 3 wins. You win out in your last 3 games, undefeated season. But as you know, honestly, at this point, you just want to win those 2 playoff games you have to play. So.
Yeah. It's just those 2 games at the very end that I'm concerned about.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of hard. It's just fun. It's just funny not knowing who you're going to have in your lineup and who you're even going to be playing against.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. We're going to move on to the other Muscat, Justine, who is, as I mentioned earlier, if she wins and Brendan and Larry both lose, which we've all predicted that, Justine will win the North. If she even just wins, she's going to at least clinch for her in 6 seasons. Going up against Rob, who at this point, Rob's only realistic path into the playoffs is to win out his remaining games. So Rob can't lose anymore if he wants to stay in the playoff race. So Justine's total is a bit inflated. Well, first of all, she hasn't. I don't think she's actually updated her team yet. Blair Walsh, who was cut on Tuesday, is still her kicker. I'm assuming that will change. But did anybody see? This is another case. We had this with David Johnson last week. Look at this projected point total for Le'Veon Bell. 27 points.
That's a little much.
ESPN's really going out on a limb lately with some of these running backs. I don't know, like.
I mean, they were close last week.
They were close. So good point. So David Johnson, they were only off 2 points, but they were still off 2 points. They were 2 points too high. So they do have that. That's too high. I still say that's too high for Bell. 27 points. I think that's insane. I will say these teams are somewhat built similarly. Neither team really has a true bona fide top-notch wide receiver. Justine's better at running back with Bell and Ajayi, and I think that's probably where the difference is going to be in this matchup. Rob does have advantages at tight end, at quarterback, but I think Justine's running backs are just going to be a bit too good, and I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be a lot closer than ESPN thinks it's going to be. But I have Justine winning, and if my predictions all turn out right, she's going to win the North, which that would be a huge deal for her.
Yeah, she'll get $25 out of it.
50. It's 50 now.
No, she has a husband. She splits it.
Yeah, I don't think Larry split any of that money when he won last year. Trust me. Yeah, James, what do you think?
I honestly think it's going to be Justine.
Mm-hmm.
No problem.
Mm-hmm. Joe.
Justine's team is healthy. She's showing more in her favor at the skilled positions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think depending on how Rob's skilled positions play during their weeks, I mean, some of them have tough matchups.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the decision maker. I agree with you, Mike, that it will be a close game. I think it'll probably be a 5-point game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I actually think Rob can hang with Justine. I think Rob seems a lot better than his record shows. He's, again, been hit by a combination of bad luck and playing in the Central, even though the records don't show it, I think the division I'm playing in is easily the toughest in the league. But, it's every to each his or her own. But, I think Justine pulls this out. We've had no dissenting opinions yet, and we're halfway through. It's interesting. We're going to go to my game. So I've won 4 in a row at this point, which I'm feeling very good about. I have to imagine this is going to end this week. This is probably the most I've been favored to lose by in quite a long time.
Yeah.
I'm a 14-point underdog. Last night, Glenn had Mark Ingram, who actually got hurt in the game, but I think he still got 9 points. So he only lost a few projected points. Will Lutz hit his projection of 7, right on the money. So Glenn's still a pretty solid favorite. And this is a first for this year. This is the first time I'm actually going to pick myself to lose a game. because without Julio Jones, I don't think I can beat Glenn's team. It's that simple. I'm really hurting at the wide receiver position. There's a big drop off between playing Julio Jones and Steve Smith or Jordan Matthews.
Glenn's got a lot of 10 guys still.
What's that?
Glenn's got a lot of top 10 guys still.
Yeah, I know, and I essentially am depending on AJ Green to get, or we're just going to need a lot of help here from. I'm just rolling the dice with a bunch of guys this week, like Robert Kelly, the Steelers defense, just because I got nothing to lose. I've been counting this game as a loss. Looking ahead in the schedule in October, I really thought I was going to lose the game back then, and I still think I'm going to lose this week. It's that simple.
I mean, I think the Steelers are going to have a better week, but
yeah,
I think Glenn ultimately pulls this one out, running back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Steelers' defense is just a matchup play. I mean, they actually, if you look, they're at fifth worst fantasy defense this year, which is surprising for the Steelers. But they've been pretty bad. But I think they haven't played the Browns yet, so I'm hoping the Browns will help them out in that respect.
I see the Vikings having a pretty good day, especially with them having as strong of a defense that they are.
It's tough the last few weeks. They haven't played well. The Vikings, their whole team, but the defense as well, just hasn't done as well lately, to the point that Glenn actually played the Bears defense last week. So it's which I thought was incredible enough, because for at least a couple of weeks he was carrying two defenses on his roster. You never see Glenn do that. But yeah, as I said, I'm hoping the Vikings defense slows David Johnson down.
No.
But at this point, I think Glenn's just got too much.
I did just notice that he's kind of playing against himself with it.
Yeah, and the Vikings' run defense has been pretty good against everybody so far. So I think David Johnson's going to slow down a bit this week. But the rest of the matchups, I don't think I have much of a chance, especially Marcus Mariota's has been outstanding the last few weeks at quarterback.
I need him today.
I hate to say it, Mike, but Glenn, I think, gets the nod.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about it. I was counting this as a loss. It basically, I lose this week, it's going to force my hand. It's basically going to mean I'm going to have to kick your ass next week, James. Ruin your Thanksgiving. So.
Okay.
Sorry, but
that's fine.
As far as Glenn's concerned, I think it's, even with wins at this point, he's just playing spoiler. He would need 1,000,001 things to go his way to make the playoffs. So there's not much else to say about that. James, we're on to you.
Okay.
Going against Chris.
Okay.
By the way, I'm very happy to see your new team name. It's my favorite one from this year. Very old school.
Yeah, I figured I might as well just start getting serious now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a serious time of year. It's been this. You've had a tough time. In all seriousness, James, your team's had a tough time lately. They lost 2 in a row and 4 of 6.
Yep.
Obviously you made a move. You felt you needed to make a move, and you did. You get the pleasure of playing the worst team in the league this week. And I don't think Chris has touched his lineup, nor do I know if he wishes to. There's not a whole
you're going to lose an incentive.
Oh, because he doesn't have to.
He's going to lose a point.
He doesn't have to, because everybody's going to end up playing anyway.
Right.
So, and quite frankly, Joe, he doesn't need to move anybody around. He doesn't have anybody else anyway.
Not to be rude, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of got to go. Something just happened.
Sure.
But I do pick me.
Okay.
So,
I figured you would.
Give me pop. Take care.
Take care, gents. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Bye. Thank you.
Well, Joe. So James is leaving, and you're not going to believe what I'm going to say next.
Uh-oh.
I think James is going to lose. this week.
I mean, after that performance last week, I mean, Chris actually did outscore him after that game last week.
And actually, if you go back and look, Chris has outscored James 3 of the last 4 weeks.
Oh, wow. I actually haven't looked at that.
Yeah. It's pretty remarkable, actually. It's one of those things you look at and it's just like, wow. Actually,
if you scroll down, you should show it. There you go.
Yeah, there's the bar graph, and there's Chris in the black, and you can see he's outscored him 3 of the last 4 weeks, and the 1 week where James outscored Chris, it was by like 2 points.
I'm kind of laughing because Chris has been very consecutive in his scoring. He's just on the wrong end of it.
James has not been playing well. Let's be honest. His team hasn't been playing well.
James started out very well, and yeah, I felt very confident in James's abilities going forward from week 5, but after week 5, everything just kind of started to go on a little bit of a decline.
And it was really his wide receivers. His wide receivers came up big early on, and lately it's been, not a whole lot to talk about. And the reason I'm going upset as well is Greg Olsen did not play well last night for James. No. Only 7 points. 7 points is not good for Olsen.
That's a top 10 wide, tight end number, but it's not a top 5 tight end number.
So I mean, if Chris, Odell Beckham has a really good matchup this week. Jameis Winston's been playing very well lately, and if somebody, if he gets a random, really good random performance from Aguilar or somebody, he can win.
Yeah, it's very doable, especially with Green Beckham as well. Green Beckham's been playing, hit or miss, and I don't expect it from Seattle.
See, the thing is with Seattle, I think some weird stuff's going to happen with the Eagles in that game. You're going to see points from guys you don't expect them from.
Yeah.
So you never know. I'm actually going to pick Chris this week, and it's not to bust on James at all, or because I'm tied with him in the division. I think he is going to lose, and if my predictions for my game, James's game, and Mo's game are all right, we're going to be in a 3-way tie for first place next week, going into next week, which I would kind of like to see, just because that would be a lot of fun the last 2 weeks. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. But what's your official pick?
Forced me to pick this time. On paper, you would really think that James has a fighting chance and could win easily. Some of James's matchups are going to be tough, especially the Baltimore-Dallas game. I think ultimately running backs are going to hurt. Okay, lost Mike. I'm by myself. Okay. There we go. Mike, where are you hiding? Why'd you leave me, Mike? Come on, Mike, it was just us. Oh boy. Left me here, all alone, live, to entertain whatever YouTube people will watch this. Gee, thanks, Mike. Gee, thanks. Don't tell me your computer died on you, Mike. Don't tell me your computer died. Send me a text? No? Maybe? I don't know. Let's see. Maybe I'll send Mike a text. Yes. Mike. You left. Question mark. Exclamation point. Send.
outside light on.
Mike, where are you, Mike? Come on, Mike. It's not polite to keep people waiting. All your fans are out here waiting for you, Mike. Oh, there you are, Mike.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, I don't know what. I actually don't know what happened.
I just left.
So yeah, so you were gonna pick Chris, I'm assuming.
I think depending on how James's running backs are, or hold up, I think that's what it's going to come down to. I mean, Chris hasn't really been able to score 110, 115 points, but I think Chris will have a better week this week. And I mean, I can arguably see Chris winning this week.
Yeah, I agree. This is ESPN. I thought was a little off with their 16 points. That is no longer the case because of how poorly Olsen played last night. James lost a lot of points there. So we'll see how it turns out. All right, we're gonna wrap up with the last game, which is John against Woj. The teams in your division have not been doing well lately, Joe.
I know. I've kind of noticed that. I have the head-to-head against all of them.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Woj has lost 4 in a row. He was eliminated from the playoff race last week. John has actually lost 2 in a row and has found himself. He was actually the number 1 wild card team for a few weeks in a row.
Yeah.
He's now out. He would be out right now. He's a half game behind Larry and Brendan. So things have kind of fallen apart lately for John. A lot of it's been kind of just it's just been a lot of inconsistency. To be honest with you, you can see
Right.
it's been all over the board. You can see even on the little chart.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the beginning of the season. It's been a weird year. And you can't, I think, Adrian Peterson getting hurt in week 2 really hurt him.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, I'm surprised John hasn't made a trade, or just because his team's, he has a really good wide receiver in Mike Evans, but other than that, his team's kind of underwhelming to me. That's just my opinion. With that said, I think John ends his losing streak this week. Woj's team, you speak of underwhelming teams, Woj just doesn't have anything.
Woj just had a very, very rough season. And I don't think many of us saw him having this season that he's having.
There was a few people in the preseason who didn't think his team was going to be that good. But I don't think anybody imagined his team being this bad.
Yeah.
I mean, he has had nothing break for him all season. Everything, basically all of his players had as bad of a seasons as they could have possibly had. The DeAndre Hopkins was his best player, was a top 5 wide receiver last year. He is 33rd in wide receiver scoring this year.
Yeah.
Nobody could have predicted that. Last week, rock bottom for Woj. He lost 69 points in a could have been a lot worse. He almost had one of the worst games we've seen in a long time. Teams Chris next week. That's going to be a heck of a game, Woj and Chris Birthright.
Yeah.
But I think John wins
It's
this.
going to be, a funny one in a sense, too.
That's going to be – it's basically going to be for the worst record in the league. That's about
Is that going to be next week?
What's that?
Is that going to be the game of the week for next week?
That will not be the game of the week. That's going to be the game we look at for 30 seconds, laugh, and then we move on. With our lives. Because that ends big. You want to make a pick or no?
I don't know. I mean, neither one of them are in the playoffs. So, I mean, it's not really going to affect my team going forward. This one has almost no effect on the playoff race at all.
Well, John can get back in with a win. So it does.
Yeah, it was win, and I think a loss by somebody else.
Yeah, he basically is going to need, and he can't get back in because I think Brendan and Larry are both going to lose this week. So if that happens, he will be back in. So, and he's tied in the standings with Monique. He actually beat Mo earlier this year, so he has a tiebreaker on her. So John can get can get back into things. And the reason I think John is actually going to make the playoffs is because he gets to play Woj this week and he gets to play Chris the last week of the season. That's a really, I mean, he has to play you next week, but other than his game next week, very easy schedule to finish the year.
Yeah, because I have John and Woj to finish the season off.
Right. With all the division games, John's going to benefit from playing in your division with the two really bad teams. Benefits both of you guys. So, I do think John's going to end up making the playoffs. It's a little early to make these predictions. I think John's going to make the playoffs, and I think Mo's going to make the playoffs, and I think Larry and Brendan are going to miss. Now, I'm going out on a limb here, week 11. I'm sure you guys will remind me of this later on, but I think Larry and Brendan are both going to miss. But we'll see what happens. Anything before we head off for the week, Joe?
Not really. I mean, I'm just looking for my loss, before the playoffs.
Do you want to lose a game before one of these last three games just to
I mean, I could throw a win to Woj, make him feel better.
This is the thing, though. This is the thing with your, remaining. The game the last week against Woj is going to be completely meaningless. This is the thing. If it's just, and this is how I would feel. If you go 13-0 and have a perfect regular season, and then you go and you lose in the first game of the playoffs, that's just going to be.
Horrible.
I mean, devastating, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll see what happens. And I know, you remember the last playoff game you played in this league, which was the championship a couple years ago. That is something you don't want to go through again.
No.
That was.
I won. I purposely set my team so I could win the game that I wanted, so I could have the first week bye, and I lost in the second round.
Yeah, I mean. We'll see. I mean, at this point, it's really. If I were in your situation, I wish you could individually call all your players and tell them to not play for 4 weeks in real life, so they just don't get hurt. The good news is with Alshon Jeffrey suspended, he's not allowed to practice or play. So and
I mean, he'll do his own, personal practicing, but that'll be it.
Right. So you're getting him back for your playoff game, which ended up being really good timing on your part. So you have that going for you. All right. Yeah, that's it. Next week, just as a reminder, next week's Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So we're going to be on Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, not Friday night?
Wednesday night, because there are 3 games on Thursday. So it's kind of silly to do Friday night because some of the games are going to be half over. Some of the matchups. What's that?
I can live with that.
Yeah. Well, you can live with Friday. Well,
I work early Friday.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If we were to do Friday, you'd be dead by Friday. You're going to be dead by Friday night anyway. And I know you have a concert next week, I believe. So
Tentatively.
But we are doing Wednesday night at 9:00. I'm sure I'll remember. I'm going to remind everybody. Because
everyone should have their lineup set by Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon.
Well, and that was the other reminder is the trade deadline is also next Wednesday at noon.
Maybe I'll send you another offer for Hunter Henry.
Please do not. I will not accept it. All right, that's it. We're all wrapped up.